Okay, imagine this. A 3-day weekend, like every single week, standard. And get this, the company actually sees a huge 40% jump in productivity.
Wow.
Yeah, it happened. Microsoft Japan. Or think about this. Only about 10% of Gen Z employees actually want to be in the office 5 days a week.
Only 10%.
Yeah. So, okay, let's unpack this because, well, something pretty big is shifting in how we work. Welcome to this deep dive. We're really going deep today into the evolving world of work.
Right.
Our focus, well, it's this rise of the 4-day work week and also the unique expectations and the real impact Gen Z is having right now.
And we've pulled together some really interesting stuff for you. We'll be looking at studies
All right.
on the 4-day week trials, what worked, what didn't, the actual results. And alongside that, we've got research that really tries to get under the skin of Gen Z. What makes them tick? What do they really care about? And how is their arrival really shaking things up for businesses?
Exactly. Think of this as your kind of quick guide to these huge shifts. We're sorting through all the noise, pulling out the key bits so you don't have to.
Right.
By the end, you should have a much clearer picture of, well, where work is heading and how these changes might play out for you, your career, your team, maybe just how you think about work in general.
Okay, so let's jump right in.
Yeah.
This 4-day work week idea,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely picking up steam, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the real world, I mean.
It really is. Yeah. What seemed like a bit of a fringe idea maybe a few years ago, now it feels like a serious option. People are looking for that better balance, right, between work and, well, life. But it's interesting. It's not just about feeling better. There's this growing argument about boosting productivity, too. And you're right, the pandemic really pushed things along, didn't it?
It absolutely did. Made companies question everything. And it's funny, the 5-day week itself, that was a massive change back in the early 20th century.
Right, Henry Ford.
Exactly. And it wasn't just like him being nice. It was about efficiency, keeping workers happy and productive. This 4-day push feels kind of similar. New values, new tech, making it possible.
Absolutely. It's more than just getting an extra day off, although let's be honest, that's pretty appealing.
Definitely.
But the productivity numbers, like that 40% jump at Microsoft Japan, that's genuinely surprising.
It really is.
They said it was because people were more focused, fewer interruptions. Makes sense, right? Knowing you have less time forces you to concentrate.
Yeah, that totally tracks. And it goes beyond just the output numbers. There was a survey, Henley Business School, I think. It found that like 78% of companies trying a 4-day week said their employees were happier.
78%.
Yeah, and that happiness, it's not just fluffy stuff.
Yeah.
It leads to better performance and, really importantly now, people stick around longer, lower turnover.
And the work-life balance impact seems huge. That place in New Zealand, Perpetual Guardian, they reported a 24% improvement for their staff. Just imagine having that extra day. Less stress, more time for, well, everything else.
And there's another angle to the environmental one, which people care more and more about.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that same Microsoft Japan trial. They used 23% less electricity and printed 59% less paper.
59%, just from one less day.
Seems so. Less commuting, less office time, it adds up. Reduced footprint.
Okay, but it can't all be smooth sailing, right? Moving to 4 days must have challenges. Like, what about clients who expect someone to be there on Friday?
Exactly. That's a big one. The sources really stress needing clear communication, setting boundaries with clients, managing those expectations up front. And then there's the workload issue. You can't just cram 5 days of work into 4 without burning people out. That means getting really smart about how work gets done.
So, better processes, technology.
Definitely. Things like good project management software, collaboration tools, they become essential, not just nice-to-haves. And, some jobs or industries might find it harder. So maybe you need creative solutions, like staggering. Who has which day off to keep things covered? Flexibility in how you implement it.
Right. We've seen some pretty powerful examples, though. Perpetual Guardian, you mentioned them. They actually made the 4-day week permanent after their trial.
But he did.
Cited a 20% productivity boost plus a massive 45% jump in work-life balance. Those numbers are hard to argue with.
They really are. And Microsoft Japan, again, 40% productivity, plus those environmental savings. It's a compelling package.
Even somewhere like Shake Shack in the U.S., they tried it for their managers.
Oh, interesting. Hospitality.
Yeah, aiming to improve well-being, reduce turnover. Apparently the early feedback was good.
And then you have big players like Unilever. They did a year-long trial in New Zealand involving everyone. That kind of scale gives you really valuable data on how it impacts a whole large organization.
So, looking forward then, Is this just a fad? Or are we really like on the cusp of a major shift in how we structure work?
Well, it's pretty telling when trials lead to policy changes, like in Iceland.
Oh, yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, they managed to reduce hours for a huge chunk of the workforce nationally without productivity dropping.
Okay,
That suggests it has real legs.
so wider adoption seems likely.
It seems possible, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe industries like tech, finance, creative fields lead the way. Others might go for hybrid models, incorporating bits of it. But the underlying thing is this growing focus on well-being. That seems to be a powerful driver.
Okay, that's a great look at the 4-day week. Let's switch gears now to, well, another huge force reshaping work, Gen Z. Who exactly are we talking about, and why do they matter so much right now?
Okay, so Gen Z, broadly speaking, born around 1997 to 2012, and why they matter. Sheer numbers, for one.
Right.
They're heading towards being over 30% of the global workforce pretty soon, maybe 2025, and already holding like 10% of management roles.
Well, 10% already.
Yeah, but what really defines them is growing up totally immersed in digital tech. They're diverse, true digital natives, and very socially conscious. Their core values, wanting purpose, needing flexibility, collaborating naturally, they're really changing the game.
It sounds like they just have a fundamentally different set of expectations about what work is, and that must be hitting leadership styles hard. It's not just about the job title anymore, is it?
Not at all. For Gen Z, leadership is much more about impact, about influence, not just authority from a title. They look for transparency, authenticity, leaders who genuinely collaborate and, put their people first. That old top-down approach doesn't really fly. They want things more inclusive.
And that classic work-life balance idea, it seems like it's evolving into something more like work-life integration for them.
Exactly. The lines are blurrier because of tech. Right? They grew up with that. So they expect work to blend more seamlessly. Flexible options, remote, hybrid, even asynchronous work where you do tasks on your own schedule are huge. Plus things like mental health support. Even the 4-day week we just talked about, the rigid 9 to 5, feels kind of obsolete to many of them. It's about results, not just being physically present.
And you mentioned social consciousness. It sounds like diversity, inclusion, social responsibility. These aren't just nice bonuses for Gen Z. They're baseline requirements.
Absolutely non-negotiable for many. They're the most diverse generation, so they expect workplaces to reflect that diversity, especially in leadership. Things like equal pay, fair chances to advance, and seeing companies actually do something about social and environmental issues. Crucial.
So if companies just pay lip service to DEI,
They risk losing them?
yeah.
Gen Z wants companies to genuinely walk the talk.
Okay, so how does this translate into the day-to-day work culture? What actually looks different?
Well, collaboration's a big one. It's all digital first. They're fluent in tools like Slack, Notion, real-time stuff. And they're quick to adopt AI tools to help them be more productive. Long email chains, endless meetings, that feels really inefficient to them.
Right. And what about performance reviews? Is the annual chat on its way out?
It seems like it might be. Gen Z thrives on more regular, informal feedback, like real-time recognition when they do something well, coaching, mentorship. That continuous loop is what they prefer. Keeps them engaged, helps them grow.
And learning itself is seen differently too, not just formal degrees.
Exactly. It's continuous. They value upskilling all the time. Things like micro-learning, short, focused learning bursts, skill-based promotions, companies actually paying for training. Investing in their growth is key to keeping them, and frankly, keeping the whole workforce skilled up for what's next.
So beyond the office culture, how is Gen Z actually influencing business strategy, innovation?
Well, their comfort with tech is a huge driver in the digital economy. They're right in the middle of things like NFTs, crypto, AI automation becoming more mainstream. For businesses, this means getting serious about integrating things like blockchain, AI, fintech. It's becoming table stakes to stay relevant.
And as consumers, what do they expect?
They're savvy, really savvy. They can be incredibly loyal, but they'll also call out brands instantly if they don't like something or feel misled. They expect super personalized experiences, fast digital service, and again, that proof of social responsibility and ethics. AI is becoming almost necessary to deliver that tailored experience they want.
And it sounds like they're changing marketing too with this whole creator economy thing.
Oh, massively. They're creating content, consuming content. They trust influencers, online creators. So brands need to figure out how to work with creators authentically. It's a huge shift in how you reach people.
Okay, let's circle back to remote and hybrid work, specifically for Gen Z. What does the data show about their preferences.
It's pretty stark, actually. Only around 10% really want to be in an office full-time.
Just 10%?
Yeah, and then you've got over 20% mainly working from home already, and another 17% who say they'd prefer to be fully remote.
What's driving that, do you think?
Well, the tech makes it possible, obviously. But it's also that strong preference for work-life integration we talked about. And practical stuff, too. Cost of living, saving time and money on commuting.
It's interesting, though. I saw a survey suggesting quite a few Gen Z folks feel they're, quote, lazier than their parents' generation. How do we square that with these work preferences?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, it could be interpreted that way, but maybe it's more about redefining work ethic.
How so?
Well, maybe it's less about being seen to be busy in an office for 8 hours straight and more about, getting the job done efficiently, focusing on results. Some studies even show remote workers get tasks done faster because there are fewer distractions.
Right, so less about laziness, more about prioritizing output over just being present.
Exactly. Effectiveness over traditional presenteeism. That seems to fit better with their overall results-oriented mindset.
Okay, that makes sense. So given these really clear preferences for flexibility, how do employers need to adapt? What actually works?
Adaptation is everything, really. I mean, something like 72% said they've considered leaving a job because it wasn't flexible enough.
Wow, nearly 3/4.
Yeah. So effective strategies. Definitely embracing hybrid models seems key. Maybe 2 or 3 days in the office for collaboration, the rest remote. Also providing really clear career paths. Younger people still want mentorship, networking to see how they can grow, and shifting the culture to truly value results, not just hours logged. Plus, obviously, investing in the tech to make remote work seamless.
So it sounds like while fully remote is appealing to some, hybrid is probably emerging as the main way forward.
That seems to be the trend. Data from groups like the Flexible Space Association shows quite a lot of young workers are still in the office full-time, actually maybe 40%, and only about 8% fully remote. So yeah, hybrid looks like the common ground.
Interesting.
It suggests Gen Z isn't rejecting work, they're just pushing for a different way of doing it. More flexible, more purpose-driven, more integrated.
Okay, let's try and pull all this together. We've covered the 4-day week, we've covered Gen Z. What are the sort of big picture takeaways here?
Well, first, the 4-day work week is definitely gaining real traction. There's strong evidence for benefits like productivity and well-being, even with some practical challenges to sort out.
Right.
And second, Gen Z is powerfully reshaping the workforce. Their priorities, flexibility, purpose, digital tools, constant learning are becoming central. And that preference for remote and hybrid work is undeniable.
So why is this crucial for you listening right now? What's the direct relevance?
Because understanding these shifts isn't really optional anymore, is it?
Yeah.
It's pretty essential for anyone in the working world today. Whether you're an employee trying to figure out what you want from work, or an employer trying to attract and keep good people, or even if you're just curious about where society is heading, these trends are affecting everything. Staying informed, being adaptable, that's how you navigate this.
That's a really vital point. So maybe here's something to chew on. As these two big forces, the shorter work week push and Gen Z's demand for flexibility, often remote work as they keep merging and influencing each other. How might your own relationship with work need to evolve? And maybe what steps could you actually take to actively shape your work experience in this clearly fast-changing future? Definitely some food for thought there.